Matt Lenehan Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined by Jamie Moore. Jamie, I appreciate you giving us some of your time. I know it's a quick turnaround after Jack's wedding and you're back in the gym straight away. How's things anyway?
Yeah, good, thank you. We're still, it's been a bit of a whirlwind 10 days, obviously off the back of Jack's win, and then um, it was sort of a bit of a emotional come down after that because sort of it was such a big occasion for us in terms of the amount of time we'd waited and stuff. So it was a bit of a relief, and there was a bit of a come down in the change rooms afterwards. It was sort of like you can relax now a little bit. But we were straight back in the gym on the Monday because Akib and Cameron are both fighting the 22nd. So we're straight back at it, and we had a few little things to do regarding getting ready for Jack's wedding and stuff. Nigel was best man, and I was a groomsman for him. So yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but all good.
How did the speech go? Did he deliver?
You know what? He did
Right.
really well. They all did. They all did. Jack's speech was beautiful, and but I was I was winding Nigel up. For the last couple of days, I've just been constantly going to him, "Don't you fuck this speech up," and he was like, "Stop! You're putting pressure on me." But he did a blinding job.
Well, let's talk about Jack then, seeing as though we've brought him up first. I've seen Jack on Twitter in response to Arnold Barbosa saying, "Have Eddie send the contract." Jack's responded saying, "Offer sent. Let's see what you're about." And also, apparently, via Matchroom Boxing, Eddie's declared that Jack's next fight potentially late August in Manchester for either Regis Prograis or Barbosa. Is that obviously what you've been told, and you're happy with that for next for Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I understand these conversations going on, and those fights are definitely fights what we're interested in. Barbosa takes you straight to mandatory position for Teofimo, so it's definitely a fight that we're looking at. The big thing for me is just make sure that Jack's okay when he gets back in the gym. He had a little bit of a problem with his hand, which was just bruising, which seems to have settled down now. He had the most horrendous blister on his toe after the fight, which doesn't sound like a lot, but he took the whole skin off the bottom of his toe. So obviously that's got to make sure that he can sort of move around on that properly. But obviously he's just got married and he's going to have a couple of days with his new wife away, have a little relax and chill. But he said he'll be back in the gym next week just to have a little move around and see how he feels. So and as far as he's concerned, as long as everything's all right and he feels good, then he's well up for fighting end of August. So it's all good.
And you've obviously seen the benefit of Jack staying busy. Feel like he sort of moved through the levels the past 12 to 18 months. He had that bit of a period after the first Josh fight where it was a bit stale and obviously promotional stuff, but now he's fighting. Yeah. He just wants to continue the momentum, doesn't he?
Of course, and a fighter with Jack's type of attributes are always better active because a fighter what relies on instincts and reflexes, you've got to keep them sharp. And I've seen it in him. He's really coming into his peak now. He's 30 years old. He's active. Because he's active, his weight's consistently lower, so he's making the weight better. So he's, and in all honesty, that second half of the fight was probably the best Josh Taylor I've seen since the Prograis fight.
Yeah.
And maybe Jack got a little bit carried away in the fourth and fifth, where he hurt Josh and he went through the gears a little bit too early. And then maybe sort of emptied his tank a little bit, allowed Josh to come back into it in those middle round, but then finish the fight strong. Mm-hmm. The reason I mentioned Josh being so good in the second half of the fight is nobody has been able to push Jack Catterall that hard. And I've always said it, the better fighter you see Jack in with, the better you'll see him perform.
Yeah.
So it was sort of a compliment to Josh in a way where he brought the best out of Jack. So that's a compliment to him because I've never seen Jack have to dig that deep because no one's been good enough to take him into deep waters. So he's going to improve from that experience. He's never been in that type of situation before. So in the long run, it's a much better lesson for him.
Is the difficulty now, I suppose, getting, because he'll want this world title to be tick box before, he looks back at his career. Obviously, it's nice to have the big fights, the big money, and everyone will talk about a Taylor trilogy, but ultimately you get into the sport, and obviously finances are hugely important, so sometimes risk reward, but he wants that world title. Tio obviously is fighting Claggett, I believe, very soon in Miami.
Yeah. It's a couple of weeks' time, yeah, so it's not too far off.
You've got a situation where I think Liam Parrott and Matthias are fighting, and I think Richardson Hitchens is the mandatory for that. So, and I think Devin Haney still WBC as well.
Still WBC, yeah.
Is it a case where he's going to have to force their hand for a guy like Tio who's in America who goes, look, Regis Prograis actively said, look, we can talk about that fight. I've seen him on Twitter, so that's good. But for Will Barbosa, would that be the chess move? The Barbosa fight, then that move.
So that's the smart move. That's the smart move, because then that takes your mandatory for Teofimo. On the other side of it, Teofimo was fighting in 2 weeks' time. Jack's just fought. So and I'm thinking, or looking at it from the sort of promoter's point of view, from Teofimo's side, if Jack gets himself into a position where he's mandatory, it's going to cost him a lot more money. Yeah. So the smart move would be anticipating that Jack is going to beat Barbosa and going, do we make Jack next so that we get that fight out of the way and we get it a bit cheaper? So I'm doing the promoter's job for him here. But so either way, I like the Prograis fight. I think Regis has been a phenomenal fighter, a great champion. But I've always said that I feel like his style is good for Jack, and I think it's really important. Jack's one of those types of styles where if it doesn't gel right, the fight can be a stinker. So I think it's important to make sure that the match is what we made. Now he's got momentum. Now he's got a bit of focus, and he's in the position where he is. It needs to be matched with fighters what are going to. The styles are going to gel. No one wants to see a sort of chess match. Everyone likes to see a bit more of an exciting fight. And Barbosa will certainly be that type of style where he'll bring the best out of Jack.
You got Barbosa there, and we know what Regis, you've always got that narrative of they've obviously both shared the ring with Josh Taylor. Regis, former 2-time world champion. So I suppose it's a case of it's a win-win. It just depends what route we go down. Just quickly, did you see any of the 5v5? Did you watch it?
I did. I did. And do you know what? It was a great show. It was a lot of the time when they sort of built into shows like that, and they're advertised so well, they don't live up to the expectations, and it sort of exceeded all my expectations. It was a phenomenal show. I thought Willie Hutchins was one of the best performances of the night. I thought he really surprised me. I didn't before the fight. I didn't pick him to win. I thought he would he'd get beat, but it was a fantastic performance. I thought Dubois was a really good performance as well.
Yeah.
So I think a great advert for the sport, and long may it continue, because the best fighting the best. Or maybe money has forced them into it, but regardless of the situation, Eddie and Frank working together to make their best fights is the best scenario.
100%. And you've now got this scenario where we've now got this mega card in August with Terence Crawford headlining against a guy like Madrimov, and Martin Bakole is going against Jared Anderson. I'm forward to that card coming up, just as from the outside looking and with nobody on the card as a fan.
Of course. And, it's took someone like Turki Al-Sheikh to come into the sport, and he saved it, basically. And I'm not saying it was in a bad way. In fact, he was probably, everyone always complains about boxing. I've noticed it. I've been involved now for 30 years. And in hindsight, it's always, everything looks better in the rearview mirror. When you look back, people was complaining about boxing in the 90s, and it was a phenomenal period of time. But I believe this is the best period of boxing we've ever had. We've never been inundated with as much boxing on as many different platforms ever. So we're a bit spoiled in a way. I know it's costing people more money, but everything's costing people more money nowadays. You've got to pay for different platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime and things like that. So it's just the way the world is.
And I've got to say as well, like we always, you don't want it. You want these fighters. You know yourself. You've been through it all. You know how hard it is as a fighter. You want to see fighters getting paid. And when you think about, I suppose you have most families. Maybe they spend X amount a month on takeaways or X amount of months off this. When you think, oh, actually, I can put it into this. You know where the money's going towards. You're getting to see now good quality fights. Like then that card the other night. People are excited to watch fight 1 to 6, not just waiting for the main event.
Exactly. A lot of the time, the undercards are padded out, and they'll have like one decent fight as a chief support, and the rest of them are just like 6 or 8 rounders where you sort of 90% know the winner of the fight. So cards like that are well worth the money. 21 quid for a pay-per-view compared to some of the other ones what we've had in the past is a bargain.
100%. Right, let me just ask you, obviously because of the 5v5 and the results, you mentioned Dubois there. It's looking like we're going to see Dubois Joshua, I believe, potentially September for probably at the time. I know Daniels won the interim IBF title. I think Usyk and Fury's rematch will be for all of them barring the IBF, but we'll see. 18 months ago, people would have been a bit like, but now, after seeing the run Daniels, been through what he's been through, resurgence, and AJ working now under Ben Davison, people saying it's the best they've seen him. What do you make of that fight? Like stylistically, that could go off.
It's a great fight. It's a great fight, and I'm the same. I was sort of a bit dubious about Dubois, thinking, is he a bit of a on-top fighter? Phenomenal power, big, strong guy, but does he sort of not like it when someone's giving him back? Yeah. And maybe he's learned on the job. You can become a bit braver with experience, and you sort of learn a lot about yourself in tough fights or difficult situations. And I've got the feeling that he's learned from them. He's made him a better fighter.
Yeah.
But I do believe that AJ, he's done the same. Learned from his losses, learned from the mistakes, and become a better fighter from it. So he's probably not getting AJ at the best time. If we'd have got the Dubois what we're going to get now, and it was AJ 12 months ago, I'd have gone, now you toss a coin. Because I think AJ was a bit hesitant and he was reluctant to let his hands go, and he's got that confidence back now. And I know people don't want to see a rematch with Usyk because he's beaten twice, but AJ, with experience and performing the way he is, has got a much better chance against Usyk than he did the first 2 times. So I just don't think Dubois is getting AJ at the right time. He's probably at his best at the moment.
100%. And obviously in the heavyweight division, it's always good because one punch and, everything's flipped on its head. Last one from me, there's a fight that looks like it's happening off the back of that as well. Hamza Shiraz and Chris Eubank Jr. A lot of talks about that fight. I'm talking about Chris Eubank Jr. 2 years fighting Conor Ben. That's now looks like it's done for the foreseeable. But what a fight that is! Like coming off the Liam Smith.
You know what? I've got to take me out to Shiraz. I really, being honest, I used to look at him coming through, and I thought, you know what? He's big, he's strong, he can obviously punch, but I didn't expect him to be able to perform the way he is at the level he has been doing. So I take me out to him. I got it wrong. He's proved me wrong, and I'm glad because he seems like a real nice guy. And my alarm going off. He seems like a really nice guy, and what a performance! That front hand of his is dynamite. He can really, really punch, and that's two fights on the trot now where he's really surprised me.
How good is it as well? I think just to sort of finish on the fact that I know Frank whitewashed Eddie, it was quite funny to see. But even the guys that took the defeats, your Ray Ford, who's going to move up in weights, your Amo Williams, who will still fight probably at world level at some point, that we're getting rid of this stigma of a defeat's everything.
If you lose the fight, it's over.
Because of the Floyd Mayweather effect of, we're undefeated, rah, rah, rah. Now it's like, dust yourself off. How refreshing is it now we're seeing these guys like Dubois, a great example, back in the mix?
Well, that people have talked about that UFC format for ages about, just because you lose, you don't get kicked to the curb and you can be sort of reinvented. And it makes fighters more sort of accepting of tough challenges. So they're not hesitant to go, yeah, I'll go into a 50-50 fight because I know I'm not going to get kicked to the curb if I come off second best. So he's going to open the doors up for much more 50-50 fights. And that's what we all want to see. And in all honesty, fighters want to be involved in them fights. They just have been scared to lose that place and lose that value. And then obviously there's a knock-on effect. You lose that income if you do lose. And having the backing of being told, listen, don't worry about it. You know, as long as you're performing well, you'll always be given decent fights. It's a godsend, and it's going to save the sport, I tell you.
100%. Even the guy who fought Bivol, I think His Excellency said that, look, you've obviously, he's done the rounds. Obviously, I know you got stopped, but we'll look at getting you back out. This isn't just thanks and then kick you to the curb.
I've done him a favour. Yeah, done him a favour when Beterbiev couldn't box and performed really well in the first part of the fight where, you know, he gave Bivol some problems. So why not give him another fight, but at a lesser level and see how he performs.
Bivol better be who wins. Go on.
I'm going Bivol. Yeah. I think he'll have problems early on, but I think he'll work him out. He's a clever guy.
Yeah, that's I can't wait to see that. Jamie, look, appreciate your time. I know you've got something else on as well, and I know you've got training. So thanks for jumping on, and we'll catch up soon, hopefully. And good luck with you and your fighters.
Cheers, Matt. Nice one, pal.
No worries. Cheers.